Hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar Patterns and Anti-Patterns of the Agility hosted by SNA Technologies. I am Shashanka, Communications Manager for the SNA Technologies. In the past 2 decades or so, most of the organizations tried to increase agility in some way or the other. They applied some agile development methods or some frameworks. Some of the organizations were successful and some were not. We had learned some lessons along the way. Today, Mr. Suresh Done and Mr. Aditya are going to talk about those best and bad practices found by those organizations in this webinar. So let me introduce Mr. Suresh and Aditya. Mr. Suresh has around 33 years of experience in IT and engineering. He is an enterprise architect and certified SAFE program consultant. Suresh has helped many companies to transform and rejuvenate their business and technology. He has provided strategic advisory in major companies in government, banking, telecom, automotive. Suresh is an agile guru and had developed methodologies like top agile and end-to-end agile methodologies that helps the organizations to be agile from end to end. Using his expert guidance, many companies were able to reduce IT costs by more than 40% and improve efficiencies by more than 50%. Mr. Aditya is an agile transformation consultant with 15 plus years of working experience in complex agile IT projects. Aditya has helped many organizations transform from traditional to agile project management, delivering faster values to the business. He is enabling IT professionals to learn new skills and develop a career path in agile development. He is a world-class mentor and has innovation management skills in healthcare management systems and eGRC systems. He has trained 500 plus people in both online and classroom training on agile practices, methodologies, and framework. And this is a brief introduction about them. And I'll be the moderator of this webinar. We'll have a Q&A session after this presentation. You can put your questions, suggestions in the chat box. And now the presentation will be commenced by Mr. Suresh Done. Over to you, Mr. Suresh.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, hi. Thanks, Shashanka, for the kind introduction. Myself and Aditya will be preceding this webinar. So as Shashanka has explained, many organizations try to bring agility, within their organizations in the past, 2 decades or more. But initially it was not that successful, but along the way we had, learned some lessons. And there are some things that that our nations need to do, and there are some things that they don't have, they cannot do. So those are the anti-patterns. So we will be going through that. What are these patterns and anti-patterns that we had learned along the way. Now, just to give a primer as an introduction. Now, today's world it's all digitization. Right, so the technology is rampant, and the innovation. We need innovation in every step that we are doing. Right, so to improve the business, to improve our lifestyle, so whatnot. Right, so innovation is the need of the hour. Okay, Aditya, are you there?
Yes, Suresh, I'm here. Okay, so we are looking forward to move towards into innovation, and we want to move towards digitalization. So what we identify is that that let us be agile, let us do agile. Okay, so now most of the organizations today are actually moving towards agility. So they look at what are the ways that they need to do to be agile and to be adaptive to the changing environment. Right, sometimes what we say is that we hear leaders saying within 2 months of time, 3 months of time, we will be agile. We'll be doing agility. We all going to be a big scaled environment for agility. So that's how we do. So many of the industries are looking now to move towards agility, and organizations are trying towards agility. So agility became a market jargon and also need of the hour. So everybody is moving towards agility.
Okay, so now if you look at the state of the industry, it's a everyone, as Aditya has mentioned, so everyone is trying to be agile. But at the same time, what we had seen is, not many organizations know exactly how to do it, right? So there are some bad practices being followed in the past 2 decades. So that is what we want to cover during this the webinar.
So this is how we wanted to understand what the practice is, okay, what practices that are there, and whether we are following the right set of practices or not. Like how Suresh said that it's like we all run towards agility. Okay, so agility is not just a term. Okay, it's like a big picture. It's a holism of everything. Okay, so we need to look agility from every dimension of that we have. So we will look into that. Okay, so understand a small piece of it. Okay, like patterns and anti-patterns. Okay, what exactly that we are doing in our current practices. Okay, whether it really makes sense to call ourselves agile, or is there any way that we can have, okay, so that we can improve ourselves to move towards journey of agile.
Okay, so today we are going to cover some of the anti-patterns and patterns. Mostly we will be covering at a management level today, more at a high level. Probably we will have a sequel to this one in which we may be, diving little deep into the, more granular anti-patterns and patterns. Okay. So let's start with agile transformation is driven too fast without preparation. So Aditya, what do you think about this anti-pattern?
Yes, this is most common anti-pattern. Like I said before, that we need to be agile in 3 months. Okay, it's what leadership says. Okay, so are we want all our engineering teams to be starting with doing Scrum or Kanban or anything. Okay, but are we really prepared? Okay, so that is something which nobody understands. Okay, so agile transformation is not just turning the page and start writing notes. Okay, it is something like a complete change management. Okay, so and are we prepared? Okay, are we really prepared with the right set of skills? Are we really prepared with the right practices? Or do we really understand before we call ourselves to transformation? Okay, so we don't have that kind of a vision. Okay, we just run with a term called a word called agility, agile transformation, digitalization. We just start using it, but we really don't understand what exactly it means. And we start telling that, okay, let us do transformations. Okay, let us do transformation as soon as we can. Okay, so how do we are our people prepared with that? Is our organization or a process are inclined with that? We really don't know. There is a common anti-pattern that we see, Suresh. I mean, it's like that we have experience, but as time goes, people try to understand that and try to correct themselves. But we need to see what are the ways that we can actually correct this kind of anti-patterns.
All right, I completely agree, Aditya. So our nations jump on the bandwagon too soon, right? So they say that, okay, from next day onwards, we are doing agile, without understanding, what it needs to take, to be agile, right? So I always emphasize on increasing the maturity level of the organization, right? So building that the foundation, right? So unless you have that foundation to be agile, you can't be successful, right? So we need to establish some principles, right? So all the practices, all the initiatives that we do should be driven by some core principles rather than just haphazardly starting these initiatives and trying to be agile from day one. And more importantly, the skill set of the employees have to be increased, right? So it's not only from the technical or the engineering teams, but right from the top level management, the agile leaders, they also have to be trained, so that the agility will be run in a more systematic way. And of course, there should be some direction given to these to the whole organization, right? So we need to establish that vision and strategy to run this, the agility in a proper manner. So yeah, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with you, Suresh, on this. Okay, so foundation is something which is important. We need to understand where our people are. Okay, so what processes that they need, and how are we getting the right principles into practices. Okay, so most of the time we see that, okay, so principles are not there. Okay, and people start doing things on their own. Okay, and they start practicing without any training. Okay, so they don't really understand what exactly is the framework Scrum, or what exactly the Kanban has, what does an extreme programming does. Okay, so these are the real foundation that we require. Without having a foundation, no building is going to stand for a longer time. So that's why we need to have a vision, and for that vision we need to build our people skill, so that they can actually construct a big building. Okay, so that is what we need to look at. Okay, so first we focus on the foundation, see what way we can develop our foundation to reach to our strategy or organizational vision.
Right.
That is something which we need to work on, Suresh.
Right. Okay, so that's one anti-pattern, and the pattern for that one that we had, seen in the industry. And the next one is the agile transformation is only for engineering teams. So, what do you think, Aditya, about this?
This is something which is quite common. Okay, so when we say that agile transformation, we first keep our development teams and start telling that, okay, we start doing Scrum, we start delivering in 2 weeks. Okay, or we start delivering in 1 month. Okay, so but it is not engineering teams work. Okay, it is like a something that we need to look at a holistic picture. What happens was, when we have this kind of hattie pattern, the teams will be delivering something in every 2 weeks. We really don't know what they are delivering, whether that is the delivery that is actually making sense, or is the value that they are delivering, which we really don't know. Okay, so we start doing transformations only at the engineering teams without having proper support from the business perspective, as well as from the top level management. Okay, so that is the bigger challenge. So I do agree on this. Okay, like engineering teams do transformation. That is how we started. Okay, when most of the agile practices have come, it has evolved from the engineering teams, and time has changed. In 2 decades, we have changed a lot. Okay, so our innovation, digitalization have changed, and the way we used to do 20 years back may not work today. So we need to change our mindset on thinking of agile transformation is only for engineering teams. We should see that, okay, so there should not be any misalignment between the business and the engineering teams. So
Right.
what do you have anything to add, Suresh, on this part of it?
Yes, I completely agree. So I've been doing this, the agility for at least 20 plus years. So as you said, like initially we started with the, from a technology perspective, all the development methodologies, the agile development methodologies, either Scrum or extreme programming or whatever. So that's where we started. And we quickly realized that, doing agile only in the technical side or in the engineering side doesn't work. So we emphasized on business agility, right? And that's what we've been evangelizing for this, 10, 15 years, try to bring some business agility within the organizations, right? So the agility is not just the IT, just the or technical or engineering thing. It should be from end to end, right? So that's why we developed that agile end-to-end agile development methodology also. So it should be a enterprise-wide change, right? So it's not just in one area that we can emphasize on. So it has to be whole the enterprise itself, and the agility. And business agility nowadays is more important because business is changing rapidly, so as the technology is changing rapidly, of course, but business is also changing rapidly due to the changes in the technology. So we have to accommodate these changes, and we have to be agile to survive and thrive in this highly competitive market. Okay, so what do you think? Anything to add here?
Yes. Like I said, that agility is from everywhere. Okay, it's not just at the engineering teams. It's like we need to look at an alignment of enterprise strategy to the engineering teams. So most of the time we see that as a myth, but this is not a myth. Actually, that is actually coming as a practice. We always see that we are doing agile transformation only at the development side of it and not looking at that holistic picture. So how we need to bring this change? Okay, how are we actually making our engineering teams aligned with the enterprise agility is more important for us. Okay, so we need to build our teams in such a way that teams understand what our organizational goal is, what market we are serving, and how we are going to bring alignment to the market. And at the same time, we need to have a leadership support to make sure that the teams understand what we are doing or what is our vision and strategy where we are going to stand. Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the next anti-pattern. There is too much pressure from the top level management. So what do you think, Aditya, on this?
Yes, this is quite common that we see that top level management give the pressure, making sure that everybody is agile. Okay, so what happens was there is a lot of difference between the thought process that we see at the top level and the thought process we see at the bottom engineering teams or bottom level teams. Okay, so it's like we have the targets, we have the investment pressure from the top level, and we look at from the top level to see how well we can deliver the value faster. And we keep too much pressure looking at, okay, that most of the organizations are building engineering practices with their teams, and they're trying to have the skill set and they can able to deliver faster with automation. But does this really make sense? Okay, are we really prepared for that? Do we have a right change process with us? We may not be sure. And the top pressure will be going down to the teams. And what happens, we start doing things in pressure without having a right strategy to drive the change. And you can add this from something from your side, Suresh, on your experience where you had top management pressure on driving agility.
Right. Well, so yeah, I've been working with top level management for about more than 20 years. So I see that the urge from the top level management to do something quick, because they also have some pressures to show some results. But again, we need to understand that the agility is a journey, and it's not a one-time activity, and you have to take things slowly, right? So we have to build that foundation, right? And then try to reap the benefits in a longer term, rather than rushing ourselves into some things. If you want to show some short-term benefits, that's fine, but again, you have to have that long-term goal, long-term vision to accomplish something, right? And also, you have to look at what we are measuring, right? So if you are measuring only small things, some how many releases we are doing, right? So those kind of things, yes, they are good, but they are not the end goal, right? So you have to look at the whole agility as a whole, and then see how we are bringing the organization or taking the organization to the next level, right? So that is what is more important, right? So what value we are bringing to the business is what is important, rather than just looking at small things. So some incremental improvements are good, but you need to have an overall picture from the top level management, and see what real benefit the organization is going to get once you roll out this the agility. Anything to add, Aditya?
Yes, I do agree on that. How we actually keep right metrics and MBOs for us. Okay, how we can measure with business value rather than just looking at filling the numbers. Okay, so we need to see, okay, whether if we are really agile, if we are really more value focused organization, we definitely will able to achieve it. But pressure is something that which we may need to reduce it, okay, and look at a change management process to drive this. And having a good metrics on seeing how we are improving is important, so that the measurement with our maturity levels is also important to understand in a holistic approach.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the next anti-pattern where we have ad hoc agile frameworks right now, right? So, so what do you think about this?
So ad hoc agile frameworks, this is surprising for me many of the times. Okay, so I heard during the transformation team says that, okay, we are doing a Scrum. Okay, so that's good if they are doing Scrum. Then if I ask, okay, have you seen the Scrum guide? The question is always surprise. Okay, so we never heard of Scrum guide, or we never referred to Scrum guide. Okay, because somebody told us to do this way, we are doing it. Okay, so it is like we start building agile practices ad hocly, or by having the knowledge that we have, okay, from our past experiences, or something that works good. That is fine, that everybody does that. Okay, if we don't have any direction, we start doing it. Okay, we try to achieve something and target. But when we call ourselves as a Scrum, when we call ourselves as an extreme programming, or maybe less, okay, or safe, okay, first understand what does the framework does, what is the practices that they have. So once we understand the practice, then we can use our practices, or we can incorporate our practices. So what happens was we miss our basic things, basic framework, and we start constructing our own framework, which works good for us. But that really doesn't give us the end result, because you have your framework which is not proven, okay, and which works good for you, but maybe not sustainable for a longer time. So that is something which we may look at. Are we having a framework where we constructed our own practices, or it is the practices that has made our framework? That is something which we may need to look at.
All right.
Right, Suresh?
Yeah, so yeah, I'd seen like, so many organizations, when they want to do some, bring some agility within the organizations, they pick up, framework, whatever the famous framework that they know, and they start implementing, word by word. That's another big mistake, right? So frameworks are generic. They are meant to be customized to fit the organization needs, right? So if you are not doing that properly, the whole initiative, the whole effort goes waste, right? So that is something, organizations have to keep in mind, right? So you have to establish a good framework so that fits your organization needs, right? First, selecting the framework is one aspect, or even you can mix and match the frameworks for that matter, right? So you don't have to go by one framework, right? So you can take best practices from some good frameworks, and then create your own custom framework, right? So that is very important. And then and see how your organization needs are met by implementing that framework. So unless if it fits your organization needs, that's a waste of effort, right? So that is something the organizations have to keep in mind. Okay. Anything, Aditya, from your side?
Yes, that is, looking at the framework is good, and adopting the framework is good, and customization of framework is good. But whether it really makes sense for you is important. What way you can integrate the framework with your organization important. And you would have seen, okay, like we start implementing scaled frameworks, okay, because we have seen the framework. But if it is a very small organization, does this really make sense, is something that we need to ask ourselves. So let us take that if there is very small team of 2 people, do we really require Scrum? That these are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves before we adopting the framework. And once we identify, okay, this is a good framework for us, then we need to construct our best practices, incorporate it, pick up the best practice from other framework, incorporate it. That makes really sense for your transformation.
Right. Okay. All right. So this is a big thing, actually. So lack of transparency. So what do you think? This is the culture that we need to build within the organization, right? So if there are some walls built, right, or if the culture is so that the organization, the members are not sharing the information, right? So you lose transparency, and that may hinder your agility. So what do you think, Aditya?
Yes, Suresh, it's like more of political boundaries. I can say that
Mm.
people don't want to be transparent of so many things. Okay, because transparency is something which is required for you when we are started moving towards a transformation or driving the change. So sometimes what happens was we don't share the information. Okay, not sharing the information is absolutely fine, but making creating a confusion with the people is not good. So
Mm.
whatever we are doing, okay, whatever we are communicating should actually reach to everyone, okay, with the same meaning. So when we are doing a transformation, it is more of change. So change management requires transparency. So we need to work on it, okay, to see how well we can collaborate with each other and work towards the goal. So transparency is something that which we can build, like you can have your visualizations. That is something which can help us to understand how we are doing our processes, how we are doing our planning, how we are doing execution. So whatever ways it makes sense for us, okay, so we need to incorporate it.
Right. So it's the responsibility of the top level management and also the agile leaders, right, within the organizations to inculcate that, candor within the organization, the openness, right? So unless you bring that culture, right? So, because everyone has to trust each other, right? So if someone is stealing your IP, right? So that is not good. So you have to bring that, the culture where everyone is sharing that their information, right? So everything is transparent, right? So you know what initiatives are going on, right? So what are the, the business goals and objectives? Sometimes, the business goals and objectives stay at the top level. They don't trickle down to the, the lower level, right? That that impedes the your transparency, right? Similarly, right, if at the team levels, right, so if they are building some epics or backlog, they're working on some backlog items, so nobody knows about that, right? So that also hinders your the agility, or that impacts your transparency. So those things you have to, as a top level management, our agile leaders have to work on, bringing that culture, passing on the information to the whole organization, making them feel like it's one organization, right? So you have to, so that's why you have to participate, all the one who are doing the planning as well as the execution, right, to make all the decisions. And then you create some, the Kanban boards, or workaway boards, right? So that everyone knows what is going on within the organization. So that brings the transparency within the organization. So that building that culture is very important within any organization, and especially it's the responsibility mostly from the top level management and the agile leaders, who has to work on that. Okay. Anything else from your side, Aditya?
Yes, I'm good. Yes, Suresh.
All right. Okay, so just to wrap up the conversation, right? So as we discussed, right, it is the change leaders, the right change leaders and the champions within the organization. So they have to drive this, agility, within the organization, right? So unless they are on board, these initiatives cannot be successful. Okay, Aditya, you want to take the next one?
Yes, so agility is a journey. So we don't have somewhere where you say that it's end, okay? Because every time, okay, we adopt something, we actually try to excel in that. So after doing certain things, okay, so we may reach to excellence, okay, but there may be another thing that is coming out, okay, because we are working in a digital environment. Technology is dynamically changing, and we need to quickly adopt to the technology. So we need to continuously evolve with us, with our skills, with our process on driving towards agility. So how well we can be adaptable to the change is more important here.
Right. So it's a journey, not a destination, right? If we reach this maturity level, we are good, right? So that is not good, right? So it's a journey that you have to always continuously improve, and also we have to reflect back, right? So what we had achieved, right? So what went well, what went wrong, right? And then focus on what improvements we have to bring in, right? So what is the journey forward, right? So the organizations live longer, right? It's not like you reach the goal and you're done, right? So organizations live longer, so they have to always continuously improve on how the business can be done, right, in a more efficient manner. So that is very important for any organizations. Okay. So I think we can wrap up here and let's take some questions. Let's see if Shashanka has any questions from any of the attendees.
Hello, Suresh.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so there is one question. This is more on process wise. Are we covering any details about patterns and anti-patterns experience during transformation and migrations? Is that one question?
Yes, of course. That is what we have to do, right? Before we take any transformation, right? So we have to look at what are the bad practices, what are the good practices, right? We have to educate the whole team, the whole organization on those things. That is very important. So that is the reason why we are doing this webinar, is to understand the good practices and the bad practices, right? So unless you avoid those bad practices, we cannot be successful, right? So it is very important. Okay, Aditya, you want to add anything?
Soon we will cover some of the things related to migration projects, okay, and also infrastructure. So what we have got here is only very small things which are not so much heavy on information, and personally these are our experiences with the transformations. We want to bring it to the group so that we can see, okay, resonate these things with our personal experiences, okay. So we definitely will cover these things also in upcoming sessions, okay. Seeing that what are the patterns and anti-patterns that we will see during the transformations when we really go into midway, okay. What surprises we come across when we are doing infrastructure migrations, infrastructure transformations, like from on-premises to cloud, okay. What challenges that we see. So we definitely will have a specialized focus related things, okay. So we'll come up with those sessions also soon.
Okay, yeah. So as we said, like we will be having a series of this webinar. So in the later webinars, we will be getting into the details of those kind of transformations, particular transformations, and what are the patterns and anti-patterns for those. Yes. Okay. Any other questions, Shashanka?
There are no other questions, but there are a few comments like
Mhm.
anti-pattern examples, like managers or bosses attending retrospectives and telling the team all good, which kills the goal of retrospective.
Mhm. Of
Scrum
course,
master
yeah.
not willing to speak up is another anti-pattern.
Okay.
Yeah. And tailor the process to fit your organizational culture, including the change management. Another anti-pattern is team member trying to be a hero.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is yeah, that is definitely an anti-pattern. So
So team member being a hero, okay. So it's like when we are doing transformations, one member being a hero is an anti-pattern, but we expect everyone to be hero. That is why we make them feel that they are Avengers, okay, or Rangers, okay. So we give them the name of the team that they are like superheroes. Okay, that's what we want them to feel.
right. So yeah, it means it's a team is a hero rather than individuals, right? So we always emphasize on the team, the whole organization itself, right, rather than individuals. Yes, individuals, needs to be, they have to be recognized, but at the same time, we always have to keep in mind that it's a team effort that always, brings success than individual successes, right? So individual efforts are good, but it's a team effort that that has to be emphasized. Okay, yeah. So anything else, Shashanka? Any other?
That's it.
Yeah, and Scrum Master not willing to speak up is another anti-pattern. That is true. Scrum Master is the one who should be the process champion, and Scrum Master should take the lead of bringing the right practices by identifying the anti-patterns. So Scrum Master plays a very vital role in the teams. Okay, so we need to have a Scrum Master who may initially require some coaching to understand the anti-patterns. So they need to know how to identify anti-patterns. Sometimes what happens was you see that value is getting delivered, but if you go inside and see, there will be a small waterfall running inside. Team starts accepting the user stories on the last day of the sprint, which is a big risk for delivery. So always make sure, okay, how your Scrum Master is coached and how your Scrum Master is integrated with your teams in driving the best practices.
Okay. All right. So I think
one more is there, Suresh, that is like managers, bosses attending the retrospective, telling the team that is like your retrospective is for the teams. Okay, so it's like never ever entertain your managers being part of your retrospective sessions. Okay, because your teams don't speak. Okay, because your managers are there, so are your managers dictates on it. So that practice should be brought so that managers be away from the retrospective sessions. If managers wants to understand the problems, then they can run a problem solving workshop with everyone's participation. Okay, that should be another activity, not that we need to bring managers into the retrospective sessions. So that
right.
covers pretty much on the questions that we have from the folks.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, as we said, like we'll be coming back, in near future, with a sequel, with dealing with, patterns and anti-patterns, more in detail, more at a technical level, more detailed patterns. Okay, so stay tuned for that, the next session. So thanks for joining us. Thank you all.
Thank you very much and have a good day, good night. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good day. Good night.
All right.